exile, as we said, right? The bottom of the exile. What was the depths of the exile? We're talking about where the Egyptians made life for the Jews unbearable. Became so tragic and so horrible that they couldn't stand it anymore. So what happened was they started to yell and scream, yell out, shout out for the Geulah, the redemption. They said, please God, save us. They started to yell, scream, please save us from this. This is too much. It's too radical for us. So what was the tragedy that occurred? They say, right, that there was a couple of things that led up to this. First of all, there was, as we said, right, there was the issue, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, that Moshe Rabbeinu, he was the one who killed that Egyptian by saying the name of God. So what happens is that now Datan and Aviram, these two Jews, they saw Moshe Rabbeinu what he did. And Moshe Rabbeinu, because he rebuked them, so they wanted to take revenge on him. Can you imagine? They were so spiteful, these people. These were like two bad people, two bad guys. So what happens is that they can't stand the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu was rebuking them. Yeah. So therefore what they do is they take revenge on him. What was the revenge that they took? They told on him. Can you imagine? They sold him out. Right, they squealed. So they informed on him, right? Where did they go to inform? They went to the palace of Paro. They went to Paro's palace, and they said, this guy, we know that he's growing up with you over here in the house. You appointed him to be your chief of staff. Now there's a new chief of staff, right? Coming, right? So he was the chief of staff over there, Moshe Rabbeinu. So they tell him, right, we know you appointed him to be your chief of staff, but you know what? This guy's a bad guy. You don't know what he does. He looks to you like he's a good boy, right? He's like an angel, very clean cut, very good boy, but in the secret, when people aren't looking, he does all kinds of dirty things. So what is the dirty thing that he does? They said, he killed an Egyptian. Did you know that? He murdered somebody. He committed murder. Right? So Paro tells these guys, how do you know he committed murder? He says, we saw with our own eyes. He committed murder. He murdered an Egyptian. What? You know this guy is Jewish, right? He's Jewish, and he thinks he can just go around and killing Egyptians over here. He thinks he's like a vigilante. What kind of thing is this?
Striking an Egyptian is death.
Yeah. So they told Paro like this. Paro was very angry. So what he did was, he sent a, they call this? It's called, it's somebody who's like an executioner. In those days it was called a Costiner, whatever, Costiner, right? So they sent this Costiner guy to kill Moshe Rabbeinu. Paro sent him. He sent him with a sword, with a submachine gun, send him over, gonna rub him out. So what happens is, right, that he gets there, this guy, he's got a big sword in his hand, and he takes the sword, he goes behind Moshe Rabbeinu and wants to chop his head off. Like this, right? So Kadosh Baruch Hu made a miracle for him. What miracle did he make? He turned his neck into marble. So it wasn't able to be cut with a sword, and like he went, like this, big noise, and there's like, so Moshe Rabbeinu, right, he realized what happened, right, that they squealed on him. So what he did was, he ran off, and he escaped the country, right, he became a fugitive, ran off. So where did he go? He went to the country called Midian. Midian. Right, Midian. Where is this country, Midian? Right, some people think
Transjordan, the southern part.
You know what? You're on the money, right on the money. It's the southern part. That's the whole idea, right? So what does that mean? Actually, you know where it is? Like today, if you would locate it, it would be like the south part of Jordan and the north part of Saudi Arabia. It's in that area.
Really?
Yeah, that's where Midian was.
Red Sea?
Yeah, around the Red Sea area, exactly, right. That area. So what happened was that he escaped to Midian.
That's past Israel.
Oh yeah.
That's past Canada. It's past Israel.
Sure. That's all they did. He wanted to get out, right?
He went like this.
So he went. No, he went from Egypt. He didn't go from Israel, right?
He took a right.
So yeah. So what happened was, right, that he went to Midian, and he wanted to escape there. So they say over there, by the way, there's all kinds of stories about what he did over there, all the time that he was there. I'm sorry?
With Jethro, he meets Jethro.
Right, exactly. All kinds of stories about what happened there exactly, right? Some say actually that when he went there, he became like a king over there for a while. They made him into a king in some country over there. He ruled over some nation for a while. There's one story like that. There's also another story that he was in jail for 10 years. Another midrash. Who put him in jail? Yitro himself put him in jail.
Is this where he dwells with the Ishmaelites, or?
Yeah, they were Ishmaelim, these people. Midian was like Ishmaelim. What does that mean? Midian was one of the sons of Hagar. And Hagar was the mother of Ishmael, right? I'm sorry?
Egyptian, right?
Yeah, she was, exactly. She was Egyptian. She was an Egyptian princess.
Muzzy.
She was the daughter of Paro.
Muzzy.
She was the daughter of Paro, you understand? So what happened was that Hagar, but the old Paro, not this Paro, the older Paro, right? Every king in Egypt was called Paro. That was the nickname of the kings. You know what I mean? That wasn't their real name. It was a nickname, whatever, Like they call POTUS, today POTUS, whatever, all this kind of stuff.
President
Right?
of the United States.
Yeah, same thing, right? So the nickname of the king was Paro. That's what it was. So what happened was that Moshe Rabbeinu goes now, escapes. He stays there for quite a while. Over there he gets married also, right? He marries the daughter of Yitro. But before we get to that story, that narrative, which is also very interesting, I just want to tell you, right, that what happened was at this time, there was a very tragic event that occurred. Besides the other tragedies that we mentioned already, about them putting, using the humans as bricks, in the walls, putting them as bricks. We talked about that tragedy, right? But there was even something even more horrific than that. Can you imagine? How can something be more horrific than that?
That makes pour water.
So what happened was like this, right? That Paro now, all of a sudden, right, because of all the sins that he did against the Jews, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu struck him with a disease. Right? What was that disease? Tzarat, right? Tzarat, which is like kind of like they call it leprosy, in the translations, but it's not really leprosy. It's a little bit different. But the point is that a person who gets this disease is considered to be like very. He's like banished from the community. He's kind of like it banishes him. He has to be removed from the community, right? Exactly. So what happened was that Paro got tzarat, and now right he brings in his doctors, right, magicians and all this, right, fortune tellers, this, all these guys. He brings them in. He makes a session with them and tells them. He says, "Listen, unfortunately, I've gotten sick. I have tzarat. So he says, I want you to tell me now how I heal myself because I can't live like this. This is terrible.
So it's like the same thing.
Give me a healing.
Makes you fall apart.
Give me some kind of a therapy for this, some kind of solution." So they told him something so horrible, right? So horrific. What did they tell him? They said, the only way we're going to get out of this is one way.
Burn yourself in oil.
You need every day, to bathe in human blood, in children's blood. Children's blood every day
So
to bathe,
starts.
and this will heal your disease. So what happened was that they said they were killing 100 Jewish kids every day.
How to be Jewish kids?
Yeah, Jewish kids. They're the most available ones, right? Slaves. So they killed 100 Jewish kids every day, the babies. And he was bathing in their blood. Can you imagine? Every day, that's what they were doing. And every day they would bathe. They would kill 100 fresh ones because they had to use fresh blood every day.
Did it cure them?
I'm not sure about that. Probably not, but probably things got worse for him. But the point was, right, that he was bathing in Jewish kids' blood every day. 100 kids were being killed every day by this guy. Can you imagine such a thing like this? So once this occurred, there was also another event, right, which was also pretty horrific. That what happened was, as we said, that he told Miriam and Yocheved, the midwives, he told them to kill the Jewish boys. So that didn't work out. So then what happened was he tried also another trick after that, which was what? That they told him, right, the magicians, the sorcerers came to him, the astrologers, right, and they told to Paro, they said, listen, we see in our crystal balls, the hocus pocus, we see that the Savior of the Jews is going to be born on this particular day. Somebody going to be born, So they said, right?
Or a star?
Yeah. But you know what they said? They told him? They said, but we don't know, according to our sorcery, if this guy's going to be a Jew or a Goy. We don't know. If he's Jewish or not Jewish. We don't know that. So they told him, they suggested to him like this, right? Devise some kind of a plan that, you should thwart this problem. Because otherwise, their Savior is going to be born, and he's going to take them out of here. He's going to release them. Right? He's going to take them out of bondage. So what does he do? Right? That day, he tells his servants, every child which is born, every boy, kill him. Right? Whether it's a Goy or a Jew, whether it's Egyptian or Jewish or whatever, any nation. Right? So that day, they killed, thousands of babies like that. Every one of them, killing them. Moshe Rabbeinu, as we said, right, got out of this. Why? because even though they actually were able to calculate the day he was born, but since he was preemie, so they didn't go to the house of Moshe Rabbeinu to check at that time when he was born. So therefore, right, what happened was he got out. That's the reason why he escaped from that. So all these things put together, in a sense, made a very horrible situation. The galut was very, very bitter, Things were getting really, really hectic. So what happened was that Moshe Rabbeinu at this time now, right, he escapes. And he goes, and he sits by the well. Right, there's a well over there. So why did he sit by the well? What's the reason why he sat over there? Because he said, right, that my forefathers, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they found their mates when they were sitting by the well. So maybe I'll find also my mate, right? My shidduch, It's a good idea. Go to a well, right? Sit by the well. So that's why he sat by there.
Well.
All of it, it came out good, by the way, right? Exactly what he wanted, that's exactly what came out. So what happened was, right, that all of a sudden come the daughters of Yitro over there to water the sheep. Because they were grazing the sheep of their father, Yitro, right? So what's the story? The story, right, is a little bit strange. Why? Because usually the girls are not the ones who do shepherd work, So what were they doing, being the shepherds, right? The sons should be the shepherds.
There were no sons, though.
Right, yeah, that's true. So what's the story, right? That's one thing. There's also another issue, right? Which was what? That they were giving them a hard time. They were being discriminated against, Yitro and his family. That's the reason why, when they came there, right, they were being harassed by the shepherds not to take from the water over there. They told them, who are you, Yitro's daughters? Don't come over here to take water. We're not going to give you nothing.
Beat it.
So they were being harassed every time. What was the reason why they were being harassed? So they say, right, the reason was because of Yitro himself. Why? Because Yitro left the idolatry and he wanted to convert to Judaism. He became a Noachide, first, right? First he became a Noachide. What does that mean, Noachide? It's a goy who doesn't worship idols, He only does the laws of God, the 7 laws of the sons of Noach. There are people like this, right? You read about that, right?
Yeah, sure.
So he became like that. He wanted to now, he was like at the first stage of conversion. Right? Little by little, he was, because he tried all the idolatries, he tried all the idols, he served every idol, and all of them he tried, so all false, right? All nonsense, fables, stories, this and that, Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, all kinds of stuff like this, right? Every one of them is a Tooth Fairy, you understand? They're all nonsense, a bunch of garbage. So he realized that. So once he realized, Yitro, that all these idolatries were garbage, so what happened was that then he said, you know what? I'm going to now serve the real God, the God of the Jews. Because I know that their God is the real God. Now I realize. So what happened was he declared, he came out on cable TV, and he tells everybody, comes out, says, I declare, that I'm giving up all these idolatries. That's it. I'm going to serve only one God now. Only the real God, right? The real God, the God of Israel.
His God is God.
So, right, exactly. His
But
God.
he didn't convert.
Not yet. He converted later, right? A little bit later, yeah.
But Moses came by.
Right, he converted him. Yeah, they converted him.
Married
Sure.
one of the daughters.
Yes. So what happens was that Yitro now announces right in front of everybody, no more idolatry from me. So they banished him because of that. They said, you don't want to be like us, You don't want to go to church. You don't want to celebrate our holidays, Xmas, this, New Year, this, all that. You don't want to do all that stuff? So you know what we're going to do? We're going to banish you, right? We're going to excommunicate you. They was excommunicating him. That's what they did. So therefore, when their daughters came, by the way, he had a very high position over there. He was a high priest over there in Midian. Yitro, yeah, he was a high priest. Yeah, so he was a big shot, But once he declared he gave up idolatry, they said, okay, we're going to remove you from your post. You lose your job. You lose your pension, right? No more Social Security, right? Nothing. Everything's gone down tubes, right? That's it. You lose everything. All your benefits are lost. Health insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, no nothing. Right? That's it, nothing.
At the foot of God's mountain.
That's exactly what happened,
Stop for 1 second.
Yeah.
So I don't forget. It was explained. I watched this. It explained.
Yeah.
There was during Moses' time when he came back to Pharaoh, right? There was 10 plagues.
Yeah.
Is that correct? There was 10 plagues.
Yeah.
All right. So what I remember is there was 3 of them that I remember why and how it happened. One was being the water turning red. Had to do with the gases coming out of the earth. There must have been some kind of.
Wait, we're going to get to that later, Mark. You're proceeding us about 2 lectures, so let's wait until we get to that, right? All the plays, right? Then we'll talk about the gases and everything. All those gases. By the way, I'm smelling some gases from here.
Right.
I'm smelling some bad gases.
How the angel of
Okay, Speaking of gases.
Right.
Okay, whatever.
theories.
So, yeah. So, anyway, we'll get to that later, Mark. We'll get to that later. Okay. We gotta do one thing at a time. So now comes comes Moshe Rabbeinu sitting by the well, and these daughters of Yitro are being banished, harassed over there. Hey, you don't want to be, idolater anymore? You're not with us. You don't celebrate our holidays, you don't do Easter, you don't do this, all these things. That's it, we're going to banish you. So,
the time of Moses was.
So what happened was.
No, it's a metaphor.
By the way, you should know that these holidays are all pagan holidays that were before also. The names were changed. You understand? These are all pagan holidays.
All holidays.
Yeah, they've been altered, by.
Like Exodus is a Yule. It's a Yule festival for the Nords. The Nords used to Yule festival.
So nothing has changed, This is all the same, believe me.
All nonsense.
It's just been restructured, restructured, that's all. Rearranged. It's a rearrangement, right? Terrible.
What are you gonna do?
So, is the door closed over there? It's closed.
He fell in.
So,
I don't know to call the ambulance.
sorry to bother you, Nissim.
No, he came out.
Fatih.
No, it's bad smell coming out of there.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he died. His guts.
It's filth. I mean, nobody takes care of this place.
God bless. What can I tell
It's
you?
so fresh enough.
Okay, it was open?
It's awful.
No.
Bring
Okay.
a fan with you.
The thing is,
Okay.
You know stuff
So-
you use in the
it's a
car?
house of worship.
Life is life.
So I'm gonna tell you, getting back to what we said, maybe we can do next time in there. We can do it there inside there. We can do it inside. It's
No,
possible.
as long as the
No,
doors,
it's okay. I
Yeah,
don't
next
smell
time.
anything.
as long as the doors closed, it's fine.
Bezrat Hashem. So what happens is like this, right? That Moshe Rabbeinu comes to the well, and he's sitting there, and they start to be harassed. These ladies, So once he starts to see that they're being harassed, Moshe Rabbeinu, was a mighty man. So he saved them. He beat up these guys, gave them a good wallop. He walloped them good. He told them, okay, go and water your sheep. Don't let these guys mess with you. So he saved them. That's what happened, right? So now he comes home with them to meet Yitro. They said, let's go to my father. We'll talk. Maybe they already saw, right? He was a good-looking guy. The guy looked like an angel. He looked like an angel. They said, one of us maybe will marry this guy. Let's take him home, bring him home to dad. So whatever. So they bring him home, and Yitro looks at him, right? So he sees that he's from the sons of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, So he was very happy. Why? Because this is exactly what he's looking for. He was looking to hook up with the Jews. He was looking to hook up with the God of the Jews. So he said, wow, this is very good. So he brings him in, right, and whatever, and he gives him his daughter, Tzipporah, right, to marry, right? So Tzipporah was a very righteous woman. She was also a very beautiful woman, they say, right? Very gorgeous lady, very righteous woman. So therefore she converted and married Moshe Rabbeinu, right? We see from there, by the way, that many of our great leaders married converts, This is,
They're all converts.
yeah, there are a lot, many, like Moshe Rabbeinu, like Yoshua ben Nun, right? Caleb ben Yefuneh. There was many great leaders who married converts. There's reasons for that, There's all kinds of things, all kinds of secret reasons for these things. But the Chazal tell us, by the way, in the Zohar, in the Zohar Kadosh, Kabbalah, this is a very deep concept over here. What happened between Yitro and Moshe Rabbeinu? What's the concept over here? They say, right, that Moshe Rabbeinu, as we already mentioned before, he went through several reincarnations, right? He started out as Havel, the son of Adam Arishon. He was Havel, right? And then Havel was killed by Cain. So then what happened was he came back as Shet, who was the other son that Adam Arishon had. Shet was a righteous man. And then he came back as Noach.
Moshe.
After that was the third time that he came back to the world. So Noach was a righteous man, but they say, right, Chazal, that he had one blemish, one fault that he had, Noach. Even though he was very righteous, he didn't care about the that's also true. That's also true. You're right. But he didn't care about the generation so much. He didn't pray for the generation. He was only concerned about himself. He wasn't such a leader. He wasn't such a person who cared about your fellow man. So Kadosh Baruch Hu brought him back this time as Moshe Rabbeinu to make a tikkun on this, right? To fix this problem, to make a rectification. That what? This time he should be a leader and care about his fellow Jews, not only care about himself. That's why he brought him back as Moshe Rabbeinu. So Moshe Rabbeinu went through all these reincarnations. You understand? First he was Havel, then Shet, then Noach, and now Moshe Rabbeinu. So what happens is, right, that Moshe Rabbeinu is the reincarnation of Havel. And they say, right, Yitro was the reincarnation of Cain. You understand?
Cain.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Cain did a great injustice to Havel by killing him. right? He killed his brother. So, what was one of the reasons why he killed him? There was also jealousy there. That was one of the reasons. Jealousy, right? Jealousy is a very dangerous thing. They say in the Pirkei Avot, right? What does it say over there? That jealousy takes you out of the world. If you're jealous of people, you spend your whole life on jealousy, all the time, Why does he have this? Why does he have that? I don't have. The grass is greener on the other side. All these things, Always thinking about what this guy has. What do you care what he has? Think about what you have, Think about your life. Why are you always looking over there? So this is a very, very bad, trait, this kind of thing. Jealousy, So because of jealousy, he killed them. But there was also another thing, right? They say that they erupted a dispute between them, Brothers always get into fights. You know about that, David, right?
Abel, Cain and
Brothers always fight, they always fight together. You know how it is, right?
Abel,
So,
Cain and Abel.
they never, brothers always have issues together. You know how it is, right? This brother, that brother. So what happens is, right, that
I don't fight with mine because I don't associate.
because you're a quality guy. He doesn't fight with anybody, David. Doesn't fight with anybody.
Stay away from trouble, right, Dave?
Huh?
Stay away from trouble.
No, I just we have our differences, but I know the guy's a psycho, and I just I stay away. I don't need that.
Why get him in trouble? Let him run his own life, right?
Okay, I got the message. Okay,
No, he's a good guy.
Right? No, I understand you.
You know my brother. He's actually.
But David is not. He doesn't fight with anybody. David.
Yeah,
he doesn't
not
fight with anybody.
confrontational.
Doesn't fight with anybody. No. It's a good. That's why I like him so much. Okay, he doesn't fight with me either. He never fought with me either.
David.
And I never fought with him either. Believe me, we never had a fight. One time we never had a fight. Never.
Never had a
Okay,
fist fight?
that's the best thing. The person is peaceful.
nonsense.
He minds his own business. So what do you have to be, fighting with people for what? You get into all kinds of ruckuses, all kinds of things. Okay, anyway, case of what we said, right? That there was a conflict between them, Cain and Hevel. What was the conflict? You know what it's about, right? Girls.
Yeah.
Girls.
Right?
So what happened was, right, that they were born with twin sisters, both of them, right? Cain was born with one twin sister, and Hevel was born with two twins, right? Can you imagine? Two of them. So what happened was that in those days, since there was no other woman, they had to marry their sisters. That's the way it was. What else are you going to marry? You're going to find somebody in the websites? There's no websites, there's nothing. You can't find, there's no Facebook, there's no nothing, right? There's no JWed, there's no this, right? All kinds of sites, Shabbat.com, all these things, right? Nothing like that. So where are you going to find your mate, right? There's no matchmakers, no nothing.
Right.
The only matchmaker they had was a snake, By the way, they're all snakes that have snake matchmakers. A lot of them are snakes.
Never die.
Don't get offended, but okay, not all of them, Chas v'shalom. Some of them are good people, but the matchmakers are very sneaky, they try to pull all kinds of tricks on you. Not all of them. I'm not telling this, by the way, from my own, this is not my own opinion. Who told me this, right? Maran Rabbi Shalom. Maran, he told us that matchmakers are sneaky. You gotta watch out with them. You gotta be careful because they're always looking to make money. So they don't always. It's not always your interest in mind. It's their interest. You understand? So okay. No offense to the matchmakers. No offense. It's a noble job. God bless them. So anyway, some of them are very good people. God bless them. So anyway, getting back to what we said was that now Cain, right? The question is, each one's going to get one girl, but what about the second one, right? Who's going to get the second one? Everybody wants to have that extra, that wife on the side, that girl on the side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
So you know how it is, right? It's the nature of men. Men always want that little girl on the side, whatever. So what happened was that it's a culture, whatever. It's always been like that. So what happened was, right, that
what do they call it?
A side chick.
Right.
They call it, in Italian they call it something.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that name that they use. Okay, whatever. It's not a clean name. Okay.
Gumara.
Right.
Gumara.
Right. So anyway, the point is, right, that now erupts a problem here. Who's going to get that second girl?
Right.
Each one has one wife, but having two is more. It's better life. It's more luxury. It's more. One of them is cannot be with you now. She's not pure. So you go with the other one. You're covered on both sides. So it's good.
Very active dude.
Yeah. So what happened was, right, that Cain was very adamant about this. He wanted to get that girl. You know what I mean? Even though she was a twin of Hevel, but he wanted to get her. Said, I'm going to pull some kind of a trick on this guy to get the second girl. So what he did was he killed him, and he got her.
Didn't he get all three?
I don't know about that, but he got at least At least he got the second one, right?
That's one way of doing it.
So basically what he did was he unjustly took the twin sister of Hevel, you know?
Right.
So therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings you back. Why? Just not to have another lifetime of singing, you know, eating newspapers, right? Newspapers, you know, reading the New York Times. It's not for that he brings you back. You know what I mean? So what does he bring you back for? To make a tikkun, to rectify your sins. So what happened was that now, since Cain was the tikkun, was Gilgul, was the reincarnation of Ito, was the reincarnation of Cain, so therefore he had to give back this lady that he stole from his brother. So therefore, this was Tzipporah, you understand? Tzipporah was the reincarnation of that girl that he stole from, the sister that he stole from him. So therefore now he gives her back to Moshe Rabbeinu, who is the reincarnation of Havel. Understand? That's what it was. So he fixed his problem by doing this, right?
So Rabbi, that means that every single Jew that interacts with the Jew is interconnected somehow with that person.
I'm sorry?
If what you're saying it makes sense, that means that every single interaction you have with another person has some...
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what you see. What he's saying is very, very smart. You know why? Because what happens is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is not an accident. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings people back in one generation, you know, so they're like all together, like we are now, you know, there's a reason for that. There's some kind of a tikkun also, rectification there, you know, that somebody did this to this, and so you have to give back what he took. You know, you got to give him back or whatever. Or if you did something bad to him, you got to do something now good to him.
Most likely we all know each other from previous life.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's what it is. You know, usually it's a payback. You know, you got to pay back your dues. Yeah, exactly. Settling the score. That's exactly the idea. So therefore, this is what happened over here also. You have to settle the score with him. But there was also another thing, which was also an amazing thing over here, which was what? That as we already mentioned, by the way, the Chazal, the Zohar Kadosh especially, speaks very harshly of Cain, of what a kind of personality he was, what kind of human he was, you know? So they say that Cain was a very bad boy. Why was he so bad? First of all, he killed his brother. I mean, obviously, when you kill your brother, you're a pretty bad guy, you know. You have to, you know where you have to be, right? Rikers Island, you have to be, over there, right? That's where you belong. But by the way, he went to a place even worse than that. He was in a worse place in the Rikers Island.
Yeah, he was running around.
He was in an even worse place than that.
A real stunk.
He was banished from the world altogether. You know what I mean? Down below. It says in the Zohar Kadosh that he had to go down below the ground, below the surface of the ground. He had to be here to live. Kind, you know. And he also had children over there. It says he had children. It's a whole thing over there about the Zohar Kadosh about what's going on down there. There's another world down there, whatever, you know. So yeah, exactly.
No, there are worlds beneath the earth.
You know, Atlantis, you know, this kind of stuff.
There is underneath the earth, you don't know?
The Torah says that.
Well,
so, anyway, getting back to what he said.
Said that, Admiral Byrd, you know Admiral Byrd?
No, but
he
probably
flew into
dead.
the center of the earth at the North Pole.
Oh.
It saw a whole civilization and a sun, dinosaur, all kinds of stuff under there.
Wow, interesting. Okay, so
You look it up. There's a whole story.
Okay.
Admiral Byrd.
So as we said, Otai,
I've seen that movie.
the Cain was a bad boy. So they say, by the way, there's a thing brought down there in the Zohar Kadosh, a passage which is very interesting, right? A discussion between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Elazar was the son of Rabbi Shimon.
Yes.
You know, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Rabbi Elazar was the son. So these were like the two great people of the generation at that time. You know, two tzaddikim, two great scholars. So what happened was that Rabbi Elazar asked the question to his father, to Rabbi Shimon. He says apparently, you know, the offering that Cain brought to Hashem, and he was rejected, you know, this whole thing, right? He brought an offering, he was rejected, facts, exactly right. So he rejected it. So he says, he asked him a good question to his father. He says, apparently this was something very good what he brought. Why is it very good to bring flax? Because this is a sign of modesty. Right. What's the modesty over here? The modesty is that the Kohen, right, the Kohanim that used to work, the priests that used to work in the temple, Beit HaMikdash, their pants that were made from modesty to cover their body was made out of flax. You know?
Flax.
So, yeah, out of linen. Linen is made out of flax. Yeah. So because of that, right, he said, you know, actually this is a very good thing. So why was he punished for bringing flax? This is actually a very good material. So Rabbi Shimon answered. So Rabbi Shimon answered him like this. He says, "My son." He says, "You're not getting the real intention of Cain. That wasn't his intention. Modesty. It was something else over here, right? Well, what was the intention? So he said, right, what he really wanted to do, that he wanted to mix two things together. Two things together. You know what I mean? Shanas, yeah, okay, it's interesting what you're saying. But he said, what he wanted to do is he wanted to take the two sides of the world, right? The side of good and the side of evil. Put them in one package and live like that. In other words, have both sides. You know? In other words, when I feel like being this side, I go to this side. When I feel like being this side, I want to have both. I want to have the option, you know?
Okay.
One day over here, one day over there, 1 foot over here, 1 foot over there, you know? So it's like, that's what he wanted, Cain. Cain wanted to live a life where, you know, he can be one night in discotheque, the other night in the synagogue, you know what I mean?
Doesn't this describe the average life of a person today?
Yeah, I guess you're right. That's what it is. Yeah, Cain is really the forefather of the whole of the Gentile non-Jewish world.
Yeah.
That's what he is. You know, he's the philosophy is going on still, right? So the point is, right? I want one day over here, one day over there. One time I want to be with my bad girl. Sometimes my good girl. You know, I have my good wife. Then I got my nasty girlfriend. You know, the naughty one. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, I got this, I got that, everything. You know, I don't have that both sides of life. You know what I mean?
Rabbi, what if we study the Torah with you twice a week, and on the weekend we go to the underground?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Teach some Kabbalah.
Right. The sound system was good there, but okay, whatever. Anyway, it's a different story.
Eerie music.
Okay, so anyway, what I'm telling you is that Cain wanted to put them both together as like to be one unit, you know?
Right.
So HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't like that. You know, it tells you, listen, either you're here or you're there, you know? Pick your side.
Yeah.
What is this, you know? You want to put both of them together? You know, don't be a hypocrite. Live your life or here or over there.
Yeah.
Choose what you want to do, you know? But don't try to be both. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was offended by Cain. That's why he didn't accept his offering. You know what he said to Cain? He said, listen, you know, my friend, that's not what I want the world to be. I don't want to be together like that, the bad and the good. I want it to be separate. Or this or that. You know, don't try to put them into one life.
You told me that 20 years ago. You told David, pick a side. Because usually
Yes.
the people that can't pick a side are the people that suffer the most.
That's also an interesting thing. Okay,
All right, pick sides.
okay. So what happened was, right, that Cain, his offering was not accepted. So Cain had very bad intentions, you understand? He wanted to put everything together into one unit. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want that. You know, he can't stand the bad side, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He doesn't want his name associated with that. You know what I mean? You can't have, you know, and this is the problem, by the way, with some of the religions, you know what I mean? That they say, you know, you can do whatever you want, and you know, everything will be good, just confess, you know, and that's all you gotta do, you know, come to confession. What do you come to confession? What, all week you're a mafia, you know, and then you come to confession, that helps you? You can't be like that, you know, you gotta choose, you know, one or the other.
On Sunday, you
Right, you know, you go over there, right, you sit there.
You tell the priest how many people you killed.
Right, how many people you killed, whatever, you know. Whatever. So that's not the way it's got to be. You know, it's got to be one or the other. Choose what you want to do. So because of that, Cain was not accepted. So if that's the case, right? How is it now all of a sudden that Yitro came? He was a reincarnation of Cain. You know, comes all of a sudden Yitro, and now becomes a good guy. Wants to convert to Judaism. Right? What happened over there? How did he become such a good guy all of a sudden? You know, Cain turned into such a good man. So the truth is, right? We already mentioned before in our classes that the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu does it is like this, right? Once a person dies and he lives a sinful life, right? So he brings him back again, gives him another chance, you know. But what he does is, before he gives him another chance, he cuts out the bad part of his neshama, right? He cuts that out and just leaves the good part, and try to bring him back again. So that's exactly what he did with Cain. You understand? Cain, he cut off the bad part, and he left the good part, and he then brought him back as Yitro. So the interesting thing is like this, right? That Yitro was really, really a big tzaddik. Right? And not only that, he was a big tzaddik, he converted, and his descendants were destined to be, and merited to be, some great Jews, you know, great scholars, great rabbis, you know, all kinds of things. They were the heads of the court.
For tzaddik, an English word for tzaddik?
Righteous, you know, righteous,
Okay,
yeah. Tzaddik is righteous, yeah, tzaddik, yeah. I guess you could say that, you know, tzaddik is like a little bit stronger, you know, a little bit more potent than the word righteous, you know what I mean? Okay, whatever, but that's the idea.
It's the function of it, of righteousness.
Yeah, okay, it's interesting.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
the Druze in
Yeah.
Israel,
Yeah.
they claim they're from Yitro.
That's interesting. By the way, the truth is that it's hard to accept that, because the Yitro's family converted to Judaism. So
They say they're Midianites.
I don't know. Yeah, well, that's something else. That's a different story. If they're Midianites, it's a different story. But anyway, the point is, right, that Cain now comes back. It says the Arizal, by the way, the Haran Chaim Vital, in his writings of the Arizal that he writes.
Yeah.
So he says over there something interesting, right? That actually Cain, right, had a very holy part to him, a very holy element to him. Even though he was a murderer, he was a killer, he was a thief, he stole his wife, he stole his sister, all these things he did. but actually had a very holy part to him. Why is that? What's the reason why? Because he said he was the firstborn, right? Cain was born first. So because of that, he had something which is called the sanctity of the firstborn, which is something, significant. You know what I mean? The firstborn is supposed to be the most sanctified one in the family, in a sense. You know what I mean? So therefore, he had the sanctity of the firstborn. And this is the reason why he had a very holy part to his neshama. He had a very holy part to his soul. And this is why he came back as Yitro.
Joseph is the holiest one, huh?
Holier. I'm also the firstborn.
He's holier than Daniel?
Technically,
Sorry,
yeah.
Rabbi.
I'm the first one.
Okay.
I
So,
don't see it, but
I'm a first one.
right, so that's the whole thing. They didn't see it in Cain either, you understand? They didn't see it.
Also, Cain was
But
red.
later on came out, you know what I mean? After a few generations came out.
Wasn't Cain also red?
yeah, I'm the first.
Was he red?
His hair
Why do you
was
ask if he was red?
I'm older
His
than
hair was red. More judgment.
Why do you say that?
Because like Esau.
I don't know. We don't find that he was red. I don't find. I didn't see. If you find a source for that,
Esau was red.
Now you're going too far.
Esau was red.
yeah, he was.
What is
He
it?
wasn't red. He was reddish. He was reddish. He was reddish. It
No, I'm not saying that. What's
doesn't mean that he was red. He was reddish complexion. Like reddish complexion.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Pomidori. So it's like it means that when he gets angry or he gets you see the redness coming out.
I had a brother-in-law in
Yeah.
Israel that was like
Yeah,
that.
then.
They called him red.
Yossi.
Yossi, because Yossi was always red.
Blood pressure.
That's it. That's it.
passed away.
Right.
He dropped it from a heart attack, yeah.
Oh God. Okay. So anyway, getting back to what we said. So Cain came back now. So he did the tikkun of bringing back the sister of Hebel and giving it back to Moshe Rabbeinu. And this was Tzipporah. So little by little, right, he rectified all the sins that he did, and now he was converted by Moshe Rabbeinu, right? But the truth is, right, that even though Moshe Rabbeinu converted Cain, he also tried to convert some other people as well to fix also another problem that was there. He converted Yitro. He wanted to convert Yitro. He converted him, but he also converted the Erev Rab, right, which was also a bad thing that he did. Maybe we'll discuss that some other time, right? Maybe this is not the time. We'll talk about that later. But he converted also the Erev Rab, Moshe Rabbeinu, And this turned out to be very bad, actually, right? This was actually a good conversion. Not all conversions that turn out to be good. There are some conversions that are very good. There are some conversions that are made by mistake. For the wrong
Why?
reasons.
Because the people converted.
For other ulterior motives, So not for not because they love God, because they love Jewish,
Well, power.
Yeah. So that they want to get involved with the okay.
The world.
So so anyway, but getting back to what we said. Now Moshe Rabbeinu, right, is in Midian, and all of a sudden, right, one day he's a shepherd of Yitro. He's working for Yitro as a shepherd, right, and he goes out into the desert, very, very far away from where he lived. So where was this? Can you imagine how far he went? This was Har Sinai, right? Mount Sinai he went. All the way over there. So where now, right, we get a little bit of a map, right? Draw you a little map. Where's Midian, right? Where is Har Sinai? How far are these things with each other? So Midian, as we said, right, is like southern Jordan, like Saudi Arabia, around there, right? So Har Sinai is the Sinai Peninsula, which is in Egypt, right? Actually, these 2 points are not too far away. You can pretty much drive there, probably in a couple of hours, whatever. So that's what Moshe Rabbeinu went. He went all the way out there to graze his sheep, right? Why did he go so far? What's the reason why he couldn't graze them over there in Midian? He had to go all the way to the Sinai Peninsula. What was he doing over there, right? They say that he was afraid of doing theft, gezel. Why is that? Because what happens is the animals tend to eat from everywhere, they go around, and when you go to private property, they eat from the private property, and you're stealing from the fields of others. So therefore he took them to a place which was ownerless. It's like a desert. The Sinai Peninsula is basically like a desert. It's like a big desert over there, So because of that, he took them over there to graze them in a place where there's no theft. That was the idea. That's why he took them out there, right? So what happens is now, all of a sudden, right, he sees that bush, the famous burning bush, which is burning, but it's not being consumed, right? So what happens is that he goes there to check out this phenomenon. It's like some kind of like a miracle going on there. So he goes there to see, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu starts to talk with him. This was the first time he didn't encounter prophecy. Prophecy, right? So, so what happens, right? The Chazal say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this was the first time that he got prophecy with Moshe Rabbeinu. So he was like a beginner, beginner's luck, Trojan, he was a Trojan, So what happened was that since he didn't know about prophecy, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu was thinking, how to come to him, like not to shock him, to make him like, afraid.
Is it
Maybe he'll think
prophecy
like,
like a true thing?
he's being haunted, haunted, it's like a haunted house over here,
Prophecy is a very scary experience.
Right, exactly, yeah, I mean, especially when you never had it, that's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Once you're used to it, it's okay.
Yeah.
But once you never had it, so what happened was that Kadosh Baruch Hu, in order to not to scare him too much, what happened was that he came to him in a particular voice. What was that? The voice of his father. Can you imagine? Right, that voice, yeah, I remember, but talking about the voice was, why? Because he said, if he hears the voice of his father, he won't be scared. It won't scare him, So, so he comes to him and starts speaking to him. So as you strayed, right, don't take off your shoes, all these things. By the way, this whole thing about taking off your shoes is an interesting idea. It's an interesting concept. Why should a person take off his shoes? So the truth is, right, in Judaism, the concept is like this. When you go to a holy place to pray or whatever, you're supposed to take off your shoes. In other words, a person is not allowed to pray with his shoes. Because the shoes are considered to be like impure. Like they're dirty usually, they're filthy.
Where Islam got it from us?
Yeah, it's yeah.
So they carried them into the temple.
The halakha is when you pray Amidah, you must have shoes on.
Right, that's exactly what I want to say. I want to point that out, right? There's a contrast over here. There's a contrast, right? You got to it. So the point is like this, right? That in the old days, what was the halakha? If you look in the Masechet Brachot, in the Gemara Brachot, it says over there that when you go into the Bet HaMikdash, you have to take off your shoes. You don't have to go in there with shoes.
Yeah.
You got to take off your shoes.
It was barefoot, right?
Yeah, it was barefoot over there. Yeah, and there was a marble floor. It was like cold. It was freezing. Yeah. So what can you do? It's marble is usually cold. You know what I mean?
But they were burning underneath.
Right. That's in a particular place, but
Right.
not the whole area, right? So anyway, the point is, right, that what happens is, right, that you have to walk barefoot over there. You cannot go in your shoes. It's considered disrespectful.
Socks?
You know what I mean? So now, right, it's not like Hayabita, but it's a problem. Huh? So anyway, the point is, right, that in our time, does he mention Nisim, right? It's not like that, just the opposite. The opposite. Right, when you come to Beit Knesset, when you come to the shul, you have to come with your shoes. You cannot take off your shoes on Beit Knesset.
No.
You know what I mean? Just the opposite, right? You ever see anybody coming barefoot to the Beit Knesset?
No, but
to the shul?
the Bible says this, so...
No.
So the question is, why is that, right? What's the reason why it's now all of a sudden we do just the opposite of what it was before? It seems like ridiculous, no?
Yeah.
Kind of like a contrast.
No, but
So
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Particularly for the Amidah, even if like you're at home and you're like with no socks or whatever,
Yeah.
Amidah, you have to put shoes on.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But let's get it straight, right? Let's get it.
He said to me, no.
Let's get it straight. This whole thing. Okay.
But back then, people wore sandals.
So the idea is like this, Rabbi, that even though in those days, right, the proper way to pray was barefoot, but nowadays this is not so. Why is that? Because since most of the places that the Jews live today is like Western culture, basically, not like the East. Like Bukhara is a little bit different. It's the Eastern culture over there.
Right.
It's something else. Iran is also it's different. There's different culture over there. Muslim culture is different, as you said, right? Muslim culture is a different culture altogether.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, right, that in places which is Western culture, so over there it's not proper to go and pray with barefoot. You have to have your shoes on. It's a culture, So what does that mean? If you go before a president, let's say, right, you get a president, you get an appointment to the White House. They tell you, Trump wants to see you. He wants to have dinner with you. He wants to have a banquet with you. He wants to invite you to a banquet, right? Everything's glad kosher. They're going to bring from Baltimore glad kosher food, everything, right? So he wants to invite you. So okay, wow, this is nice. I want to go beat Trump, right? Finally, I've been looking to meet him for all this time, right? I don't see him on Fox. Now I really get to see him in reality, right?
Nice.
So what happens now? He goes over there, right? And he comes into the White House, and they see him barefoot, right? They're going to tell him, listen, buddy, this is the White House. Come in with respect. What are you coming over here barefoot? What do you think you're going into, right? What do you think? This is the Hare Krishna? What is this? What are you coming over here like this?
So my mother was like, take the shoes off.
Yeah.
They come into the house.
Right, yes.
We all do.
Sure.
Well, I don't.
I walk barefoot at home. I can't wear shoes. I go nuts.
So what happens is, right, that since it's not considered to be respectful to go into a king here or a president, right, with the barefoot, so this is the reason why we don't pray anymore like that, especially in the countries where it's Western culture, like here, or in Europe, or also in Israel, same thing, right? Pretty much. So basically, that's why if you live in a place where it's Western culture over there, and you would not go before the king in barefoot, so you cannot go also pray like that. That's the idea, right? This is the reason why I told you what I told you. So in America it's different. In Bukhara it's different. Bukhara is something else. Over there, maybe the culture to do like that.
Even then, when you meet somebody official, you wear sandals.
Okay, so right. But if you went to the president, how would you go? That's the question. Right?
Shoes.
That's it. Okay. So even there changed. You see, Western culture has permeated even to the Eastern countries.
Right.
This is what happened. Recently, a lot of. Okay, whatever. So anyway, the point is that because of this reason, nowadays, right, it's just the opposite. But the truth is that when the Beit HaMikdash will be reinstated, we're going to go back to the old system. Because, this is like considered to be the real Torah. The real Torah is that a person has to pray barefoot. So it all depends on the culture that you live in, this kind of thing. Okay, whatever. But I must tell you, right, that even though nowadays we're particular to pray, especially when we do Amidah, the standing prayer we're talking about, right? Because if you're just saying Kriyat Shema, or you're saying some, korbanot, then you don't have to wear shoes for that. I'm talking about when you go for the Amidah, you stand before God, you stand the silent prayer, you say. That's what I'm talking about. Over there you need to put shoes. That's something else, right? You know why? Because that's the highest form of prayer. When you're standing, doing the standing prayer, the Amidah, that's like you're very close to God. The Olam HaTzilut, the highest world you are. Next to God. So therefore, when you do that, you have to wear shoes. But before that, no, you don't need. Kriyat Shema doesn't need shoes. Right? That's something else, right? Two different things. Everything has its own level, that's the way it is, right? So getting back to what we said, so Moshe Rabbeinu right now gets drafted over here into the army, you understand? Hashem tells him, listen, I want you to take my children out of Egypt. That's what I called you for. So, lo and behold, what does Moshe Rabbeinu do, right? He plays a shy boy over here, Shy boy. What does it mean, shy boy?
Why?
Oh, I'm not worthy to go. Why me? Why'd you choose me? Why this? Why that? Blah, 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 blah. Right? So Hashem, every question that he asks, HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers him. Yeah, got an answer for everything,
And then he answers Paul.
Say I am.
I'm not worthy. I'm not this. I'm not that. Blah, 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 blah. It's a good question. I'm going to explain right now exactly the point, right? Yeah, right, exactly. It's your calling, it's your calling in life. And by the way, this was exactly his tikkun, right? What was the tikkun? The tikkun, the rectification was that he should now become a leader. Because when he was Noach, he didn't want to be a leader. He wanted to just save himself, his own hide. He wants to save his hide. But now you got to become a leader for the whole people. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, listen, buddy, this is what I brought you to the world for. Only for this I brought you. To break into leadership. Don't be a shy boy now anymore. That's it. Enough is enough.
I am the Lord.
That's what he's telling him.
Why after 400 years, though?
Because, all these things, there's all kinds of, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a timetable, We're in a hurry, you understand? We're in a hurry. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a timetable, everything goes according to his timetable. He knows exactly why, the depths of all the judgment, all the things that have to be done. It's a slow process, It takes time. It's a 6,000-year process, This is not a short, There's not a short thing. So what happens is, right, he tells Moshe Rabbeinu, what's your problem? So he tells him, it just starts. By the way, how long did it take him to convince him to go? For 1 week. Can you imagine? 1 week. 1 week he giving him a headache.
No, he was up there for 40 days, I think.
That's something else.
No,
we're not talking about that.
Fine.
We're talking about the preliminary thing.
The
You understand?
first time,
right.
okay.
So how long did it to convince him to go? Took him 1 week of headache, Oh, I can't do it. I can't do
He was in front of the burning
I'm not
bush.
worthy. Yeah, I'm sorry.
He was in front of the burning bush for a week.
Yeah, he was over there. Yeah, for a week he was there. Whatever, But anyway, the point is, right,
It's a holy place.
now it tells HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he says,
Moshe.
he tells him like this, right? He tells him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he tells HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Moshe Rabbeinu, he says, listen, I have a problem with my mouth. I have a list. I don't sound good. I stutter. I don't sound good. I don't sound like a politician. I'm not a smooth talker. Like Obama. One of these guys, rapper. I'm not a rapper. So I can't do rap. So what do you want me to do? I can't. I'm not a smooth talker. I'm not a politician. Give me a break. Send somebody else who's a smooth talker. Find somebody. One of these guys who is a professional politician. One of these guys. So Kadosh Baruch Hu tells him, he says, what's the problem? He says, why do you make up these excuses to me? You're better than that. Tells the Kadosh Baruch Hu, tells him like that. You're better than that. So he says, you know what? You really don't believe that I can make you a smooth talker if I want? If you want, if I want, I can fix your mouth. I can fix your list. I can fix your stutter. I can fix everything. What's the problem? I'm an almighty, omnipotent, omnipresent God. I can fix everything for you. So why do you come and give me these excuses? What is it with you? So it says, wasn't I the one when they came to kill you Paro with a sword, right? I turned your neck into marble. So if I turn your neck into marble, I can't fix your list. What is it with you? You don't have what? All of a sudden you became a dummy? Trying to some kind of a dopey guy? Well, these dopey questions you're asking. So question is like this, right? What was the real reason Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to go? Was he that shy? I mean, he was such a shy boy. The truth was, right? They say that Moshe Rabbeinu was not a shy boy. He was a great leader. He looked very impressive. He was tall, He was taller even than Kushner, Jared Kushner. He was taller. He was taller. This guy was up in the sky somewhere, He was hovering in the sky, He made Jared Kushner look like a midget. You know what I mean? Can you imagine? So this guy was really tall. And he was very impressive, and he was a leader, and people knew him as a leader. And also, they say he already became a leader. He was also a king for a while before he did this job. So he already knew about leadership. He knew about what it means to be politics, leadership.
Why was he reluctant to?
Why was he? That's a question, right? So you know what they say, the Chazal? The reason was very simple. This was a form of humility also. Moshe Rabbeinu, they say, right, he was the most humble man that ever lived. The humility was what made him great. You know what I mean? Didn't think anything of himself. I'm just a regular guy, Who am I? I'm nothing. I'm nobody. So he tells HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he says, listen, he says, I'm just a nobody. Like, why don't you just send who you usually send for these missions? You have another guy that you usually send, right? Okay. Okay. Nice picture. Okay, nice picture. Okay, Hollywood. Okay, so it says, why don't you usually send the person you usually send? So who's he talking about? Who's he usually send? It was his brother Aaron, right? Why? Because usually, right, all the prophecies that were going on before Moshe Rabbeinu came into the picture was done by his brother Aaron. Aaron was the leader.
Aaron?
Aaron was the leader. So he says, he's been the leader, he's older than me. He was 2 years older than him. You know what I mean? Right. So he says, why don't you send him? Why me? All of a sudden you chose me now? He was always the leader.
John Carradine.
Same thing, Herod.
So the question is, why did he tell him this? You know why? Because he didn't want his brother to be jealous of him. He didn't want his brother to be offended by the fact that he took his position. It's like, I'm the younger brother. All of a sudden I come in and start to infringe on you. It's not nice. This is the reason why he didn't want to go. Because he said, you know what? I don't want to hurt my brother's feelings. That was the other thing. Humility, This was great trait of Moshe Rabbeinu. He was a very humble person. So he tells him like this. So, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, enough is enough with you already. In other words, he got very angry at Moshe Rabbeinu. So what did he do? He punished him, There was a punishment over here. What was the punishment? He said, because you're a chutzpah, you have this chutzpah, this arrogance, to speak to me like this. So you know what I'm going to do to you? I wanted to make you the king of Israel, and also to make you the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. Now the high priest is going to go to your brother. Since you want so much your brother to take your position, I'll give the high priest to your brother. He lost his position because of that. Because he was too shy, he was too reluctant, giving a hard time. Who are you saying to no to? You're saying to the Creator, Who are you talking to? This is not your neighbor from Regal Park. There's somebody else over here. You know what I mean? This is the Creator of the world. You're not supposed to talk like this. So like Baruch told him, he says, okay, you want to be like this? You know what? I'm going to do exactly what you say. You want to give your brother? I'll give your brother. Your brother's going to do the job for you. So what happened was,
for a time he did minister though.
So meaning what? That he lost the Kehunah because of that. He was supposed to be Kohen, Moshe Rabbeinu, and now his brother became the Kohen.
He was not supposed to be Kohen anymore. He was
what I mean?
Kohen.
He was supposed to be Kohen.
His line.
Moshe Rabbeinu, yeah, his family, yeah. He lost it because of that. Okay, anyway, going back to what he said, so he just became a Levi, right? Moshe Rabbeinu, he was left a Levi, and his brother became a Kohen. Right. So there's also another thing the Chazal talk about here, right? Which is what? That the way Moshe Rabbeinu behaved when HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to him. Because the Shekhinah was there, the divine presence was there on the bush. You know what I mean? It was just not just a burning bush. The Shekhinah was there, the divine presence. So when he saw the Shekhinah, when he saw the divine presence, what he did was he hid his face like this, from modesty. He went like this. He didn't want to gaze at it. You know what I mean?
Go flat. You have to prostrate yourself.
So what does the Chazal say about this? Right? There's two opinions brought down in Midrash regarding this. Was this something good that he did, or something not so good, what he did? Right? Like hiding his face from the Shekhinah. So one opinion comes and says, this was actually something very good. Why is that? Because the person should be afraid of the Shekhinah. Should not look directly at the Shekhinah. And because of that, because he hid his face from the Shekhinah, eventually, right, what happened was that his own face, later on, as we'll learn later on, was giving off the Shekhinah from his face. The Shekhinah was coming from his face as well. Why? Because he was shy and bashful, and didn't want to look at the Shekhinah, didn't want to gaze at the Shekhinah, didn't want to gaze at the divine presence. This was actually a reward that he got and what happened was that at that time, when he got the Shekhinah on his face, later on, People were afraid to look at him. He was so holy. He was so, so much light was coming from him, emanating from his face. Right, exactly. He had the light of God on his face already. It was imprinted on his face. So therefore they say, this was actually something very, very good that he did, that he hit his face. But there's also another opinion which says that this was a mistake what he did.
You should have taken the glory, right?
So what's the mistake? What's the idea? They say, right, that Kadosh Baruch Hu at that time wanted to reveal to him all the secrets of the world. What's going to be the future, what's going to be in everything, every aspect and every facet of the world, how it functions, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right, how he runs the world, how he,
I thought that's why he said, when I pass, look at my hind parts.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Yes. So what happened was like this, right, that because of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, he said, I want to reveal to you now everything. And he refused kind of, like he didn't want to gaze at all the information that was there. So what happened was that when he went, as you said, right, to that episode over there, when he went to the cleft of the rock, to whatever, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, he said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, reveal to me everything. I want to know everything about you, how you do everything. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, no, I'm going to give you the back of my face, not the front, right? So the Chazal say, why did he give him the front? You know why? Because he told him, when I wanted to give it to you, you didn't want to take it, you were too shy. Now I won't give it to you, too late. You had your chance. You know what I mean? So because of that, they told you, the Kadosh Baruch Hu told him, now it's too late, buddy. When I give you, you gotta take it.
Can you really?
You understand?
Can you really say that? So this is God. This is not like a man. This is not a joke.
There was reasons for these
things. You cannot
things.
accept all this force at once. You're gonna wipe yourself
What can you right? So this was a mistake. According to there's two opinions, you understand, in the Chazal regarding this, whether it was good what he did or not so good, whatever. So anyway, the point is, right, that Kadosh Baruch Hu tells them, he says, listen, I want you to go. After a week, he actually finally agrees. Can you imagine? Finally agrees to go. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, I want you to go to Paro. And go to the Jewish people also and say, the time for your redemption has come. Because I see what the Egyptians do to you. Killing of the children, all these atrocities, right, that we just mentioned, like all these things. I've seen what's going on.
I see their strife.
Right, exactly. So what happens is that now, right, he tells Moshe Rabbeinu, I want you to go now and take out my people, right? And take them out of Mitzrayim. I've seen their affliction already, right? All the afflictions that have been done to them. So he says, I want you also to tell the Jewish people, the time for the Geulah has come. So Moshe Rabbeinu tells HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he tells them, he says, but the Jewish people are not going to believe me. They won't believe it. They're going to think I'm a faker, some kind of fake guy.
What do I say?
They're going to think I'm a politician. One of these politicians always lies, but lies about everything. False promises, right? All kinds of false, things. So the Baruch Hu tells them, he says, no, he says, you're very wrong what you're saying. You're speaking Lashon Hara about my children, right? You're slandering them. You're slandering my children? It's not true. They're believers, these people. They're going to believe you. They're believers, sons of believers. They have good blood. They have good genes, these people. They have good souls. When you tell them they're going to believe you, why do you speak Lashon Hara about them? So therefore, this is the reason why he gave him leprosy on his, gave him salat. It's not really leprosy, right? Salat, he gave him on his hands, right? All these things, he put it inside your, inside your chest, came out, right? And the snake also, then he made the staff into a snake, and all these things, right? Why did he show them all these things? He told them, you speak Lashon Hara about my children. So he told them two things, right? You're like the snake who spoke Lashon Hara about me, right? You're like the snake now. And that's why he turned the staff into a snake. In order to show him that it's sin, he sinned by speaking Lashon Hara about the Jewish people. They're not going to believe. They're not going to. Yeah, cheap magician's trick. So what happens is, like, he tells them to put your hand in there and comes out with salat. Why? Because they say, right, the punishment for one who speaks Lashon Hara is salat. So he told Moshe Rabbeinu, don't speak Lashon Hara about my children anymore. That's it, enough with you.
So he had this
right?
disease?
So it was true actually what HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
So Moses had this disease?
No, it was temporary. He just showed it to him, right?
Oh, okay.
Nice trick, for a few seconds. Why? Just to show him, right? He told him, he says, no, you're speaking Lashon Hara about my children? No on you.
I will show you.
Don't, right? So what happened was that when he actually went to tell them, they believed him. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu was right. Why do you think the Jews are not going to believe you? The Jews are believers.
Did all of them believe?
Yeah,
right
until
away?
they went back.
They say they believe. That's what it says. Yeah, that's what it says. I don't know.
Yeah, until they went back though.
So you understand? There's always going to be a couple of wise guys, like Datan Vavi. There's always going to be people like that. You know how it is, right? There's always jokers. There's always the jokers anywhere.
Aaron, when do we leave?
So what happens is, right, Kadosh Baruch Hu tells them, he says, you spoke Hashem about my children. So then he tells them, right, one more thing we'll say, right, we'll finish here. So he tells them also, I want you to gather, right, elders that are going to go with you, right? These are going to be the leaders of Am Yisrael. These leaders, by the way, why did they merit to become leaders? They say because the reason is they were the officers, they were taskmasters over them when they were in slavery. So they tried to protect them, from Jews from being harmed. And they tried to make it as easy as possible on them. They had mercy on them. So they were merited because of that to become the leaders of Israel, the 70 elders. But what happened was, right, that Moshe Rabbeinu actually went to meet Paro. And the 70 elders had to go together, They were supposed to go like as a group, as an entourage, to go to Paro together. Because when one goes together and one goes by himself, it doesn't look very impressive,
Right.
When you go as a group, it looks more impressive. It looks more, politically correct, whatever. So you know how it is, right? So you go there with an entourage. And what happened was, right, that as they were going towards Paro, Moshe and Aaron and the elders, right, the 70 elders. So little by little, they all branched off, and they went aside, and they didn't have the guts to go in there to Paro.
Really?
They got scared, They chickened out. They chickened out, yeah. They chickened out, and they didn't go. Why is that? Because they were scared of the grandeur, the Malchut, the kingdom of Paro. They said, again, we're not going to mess with this guy, right? So that's what they say, Chazal, they say, because they didn't have the guts to go to Paro and go into his palace to kill Moshe Rabbeinu, so they were also punished later on. How were they punished? Moshe Rabbeinu went up to receive the Torah on Har Sinai. He was able to go up all the way right to the Shekhinah, to the divine presence, but the elders had to stay behind. Those were exactly the elders. They were afraid to go into Paro. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu told them, since you were afraid to go into Paro, right, and you were scared, you chickened out, so therefore you're not going to see me right closest to Shekhinah. You're going to see, because you didn't have the guts. You didn't believe in me, you believe in Paro more, so you don't come too close to me so much. So they had to stay down on the mountain, right? Not go all the way up there. Moshe Rabbeinu went up by himself. That was the way it was. Okay, Rabotai, we'll continue next time. Chazak u'baruch. Thank you for coming.